African Americans have the highest rate of hypertension in the world.
Right.
African Americans are 20% more likely to get colorectal cancer, 40% more likely to die from it. African American women are 41% more likely to die from breast cancer. African American men are 73% more likely to be diagnosed with prostate cancer and twice as likely to die from it.
Mm.
You know, and you start to think about dialysis clinics. This is like in
Oh
our
yeah.
neighborhoods, is like it's the equivalent of McDonald's. You know, it used to
Right.
be a McDonald's on every corner. Now it's a dialysis clinic.
On every corner, because we have different phenotype, and when you deal with the negroid phenotype, that's the organ that takes the hit based on everything being out of sort in the system. The kidneys get hit with us.
Yeah.
You know, so you know when we think about Sabi, like when you deal with elders, you can listen to what they say, but you learn even more when you observe them and
Yes.
what they do.
Yeah.
So Sabi's in Honduras.
Yeah.
He came to the States to speak. Even with you, you're healthy. You spend a lot of time on the farm,
Yeah.
right? So our people, we're known for barbecues, block parties, what else? Everything, pool parties, everything that we deal with is always some outside function.
Yeah.
We're outside people.
For sure.
We're supposed to be in the sun.
Yeah.
We say we're children of light. We say we're chosen, black and proud. We love talking about our melanin, but then you overlook the functionality of the melanin.
Yes.
What is melanin for? It's there to be an organizational structure. It's a means to organize. I compare it to a movie screen. You go to a movie, there's a projector, people sit down, you looking this way. Everybody knows the picture ain't coming from in front of you, it's coming from the projector behind you. You see the beam of light in the darkness. No one sits there and looks at the movie this way.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? No, they're looking at the screen.
Yeah.
And that's what melanin does. It organizes the beam of light into something. It drops entropy. It brings order to the system so everything can form. We have to get into the light so that we can maximize what our melanin is supposed to be here to do. And the more that we spend, because all of these numbers that you just read off, this wasn't here 50 years ago or 75 years ago. So we know the frequencies have changed because now we have 5G and we got all these towers.
Yeah.
We know now we have tablets and screens and computers and phones now too, right? We got blue light. We're not our work was predominantly outdoors, and it required the physical movement of our body and us standing up all the time.
Yeah.
Now we're not doing any of that.
Yeah.
You know, then you add on top of that an environment that perpetuates fear, because we're dealing with a huge fear campaign right now.
Yeah, for sure.
That's all everybody's talking about, right? Oh man, look at what's going on over here.
Yeah.
Look at what's going on over there. Have you seen the news? Have you seen the pictures? I'm like, have you seen the pictures here?
Distractions.
Have you seen the numbers you just read?
Yeah.
Nobody's talking about those
There's a
numbers.
genocide going on right here.
Right here.
Yeah.
And you're feeling sorry and have empathy for a whole nother group of people, and you can't even recognize what's happening right underneath your nose.
And you know what happens is, quite often people can extend empathy to others, but not themselves.
Terrible.
Okay? Not themselves. And that's a huge issue, man. Like,
Yes.
because the first law of preservation is the first do no harm.
Yes.
Like, you can't even properly love somebody else if you can't
love
first
yourself.
love yourself.
Right.
And so that's hugely important. Why do you think we're so sick?
Man, that's a lot to unpack, but
Just get,
so-
give a synopsis.
So I would say it's many factors. You know, the go-to is always going to be slavery. Like everybody always likes going back to that narrative. You know, we suffered in slavery, we was abused, we're dealing with post-traumatic slave syndrome. But we weren't all slaves.
Yeah.
And even the narrative of slavery as we know is not exactly how it was taught to us either. So it's like we always say, oh man, they've always taught us all of these lies
Yeah.
in history. And so you think You think the slavery narrative is the one that's 100% true also? No, there's some things up in there too. We're in the situation we're in karmically because this goes back to that ego thing. One thing we can all agree on is, at one point in time, it was a melanated planet,
Yeah.
right? Okay. So if it was a melanated planet and we were all rocking and rolling, then that means it was something that we did to fall.
Yeah.
Because if ain't nobody else here, how we gonna blame it on someone that ain't even here?
Yeah.
Right? So karma is serious. It does not discriminate.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You take certain actions, you do certain things, it's gonna come back around.
And what is karma to you? Is it it is the way that God punishes or the universe punishes? What is it to you?
Yeah, I would say it's a comeback around on how the universe, the creator, the energy's nature teaches you a lesson. And one of those lessons can be a loss of knowledge of self. When you don't know who you are, you can't look in the mirror and recognize who you are, where you came from, what your people ate, how your people lived, but you'd rather superimpose other ideals and concepts onto you and feel safer that way.
Yeah.
That's a disease.
Gotcha.
That's a disorder.
Yeah.
So a lot of us are just having an identity crisis. We don't know who we are. And if, like you said, you don't love yourself, you don't know who you are, you don't know who your family is, then, anybody that comes around and is able to increase that dopamine,
Yeah.
then you're going to keep getting that hit.
Gotcha.
And then our people and our community just become addicts
Yeah.
on different levels.
Yeah. And I also think karma is like a balancing. It's the way the universe balances.
Scales.
And it balances for alignment.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like if, if I was sitting here and then punched you in the chest,
Mm-hmm.
and then 2 days later some guy at the gym ran by me and punched me in the chest, then now I have to be empathetic
Mm-hmm.
to what it feels like to be punched.
Right.
So now I think differently if I think to punch somebody.
Exactly.
And I think that's part of what we need to get through to in our community is understanding that self-love is how you look out to your brother, your sister around you,
Mm-hmm.
and have enough empathy to put yourself in their shoes.
That's right.
And I think that's a huge part of healing as well too. So when it comes, and because you brought that up, a lot of this goes back to our mindset.
Yeah.
And a lot of this has been programming too.
Mm-hmm.
A huge amount of it has been like programming, especially on the subconscious level, because 95% of our brain activity is subconscious. It's not us being actually conscious.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and which is crazy because there's this whole conscious woke movement going on.
Right, but we more asleep than ever, right?
More asleep than ever. And so, what do you think is the greatest barrier to having a healing mindset?
Well, I would think the fact that we have to understand what the mind is, and we always attribute the mind to the brain.
Yeah.
And the brain is an organ, yes, but the mind is not the brain. The mind is something that is all encompassing with us. If you were to take the sentience of all your cells and tissues and what you are, it's that overall intelligence. And we have an organ that doesn't get enough credit, and that is our biofield.
Okay.
Right? So we have a whole energetic organ that you don't see with the naked eye.
Yeah.
You do EKGs and MRIs and all this stuff, and you get remnants of it, but we act like it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So you were talking about influence. So now when we deal with consuming heavy metals that are taken inside of our system can be seen as nanoparticles.
Yeah.
Nanoparticles can get manipulated by sounds and frequencies.
Indeed.
So now if I have a 30 gigahertz to a 300 gigahertz antenna that can propagate particular waves to you, I can get nanoparticulates to come together and to form into particular things.
Yeah.
We are antennas ourselves. We can become our own relay stations.
Yeah.
So now I can program you. I can just forget using a television or a song to tell you what to do. Now I can use your system as a means to tell you what to do.
Gotcha.
And how do you even know that you're being taken advantage of and puppeteered around because you feel you're in control,
Yep.
you know?
100%.
So, being able to always say the same thing, we have to return back to nature. We have to put
Indeed.
the phone down sometimes. We have to walk away from the lights. We have to get out of the city because there's something called the inverse what is it, inverse square law, and I liken it to being in the water and seeing a shark's fin.
Gotcha.
If you was in the water and you saw a shark's fin, are you going to swim towards the shark or away, more than likely?
I'm going to find out how to take flight.
Right, okay, you getting out of there, right? So in the inverse square law, it deals with radiation. So whenever you see a high concentration of people that all got bidirectional microwave devices that are radiating each other, then the further you get away, the more you have protected your health, the stronger the chances of survival. So when you deal with these major cities, you got millions and millions of people, all got phones. They are now becoming their own cell towers.
Yeah.
And you have to separate yourself from that pack and get somewhere where there isn't all of that radiation anymore. And you can plug back into a natural state.